friends. Welcome to Flosstube and Variety Show number 116. Today is May 17th, 2024, and I'm Emily Williams in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. So glad you've joined me today. It's kind of a cloudy day. It's funny because the weather forecast kept saying partly cloudy or partly sunny, and don't think I've seen the sunshine all day long, which is fine. And just to get something out of the way that's bothering me, it may or may not bother you. I had a haircut Wednesday. It's kind of short. My hair person I have been going to for probably more than 40 years. And I have a high degree of loyalty to her. She's in her late 70s, maybe, something like that. And she has some physical problems. Knee problems, shoulder problems, and she sometimes doesn't do a great job with my hair, but usually it's okay. It's not the work of art that it used to be when she was younger, but it's okay. This time she gave me kind of a short haircut and, oh goodness, I shouldn't have touched it. Well, it stands on end a little bit, but next week it'll be calmer because it'll be a little bit longer and the weight of it will pull it down. But anyway, Flosstube is cross stitch and Variety Show is something else. So we'll see what that is when we get there. Let me show you some cross stitch. So this is Under the Roof of Blue Ionian Weather. I'm showing it to you 2 weeks in a row after you not seeing it for months and months. I did make some progress, and again, it's almost indiscernible probably, but I did more on the skirt of the second lady's dress, and I've carried the gridding out farther. Now I haven't carried all of the vertical gridding out, but I got it far enough out that I could move a little bit more toward the east in this. I was realizing that I was a little bit paralyzed by the fact that I couldn't go very much farther than I had already gone in terms of where the thread was going to take me, because I was afraid I would not count it properly. So I took one whole evening and put in the gridding you see, and I may put in vertical gridding over here so that I can carry this possibly all the way to the width. Now, I mean, obviously I will eventually do it to the full width. Whether that will be anytime soon, I mean, clearly it won't. It won't. This is 61% done of a 72,000 stitch piece. So what's the math on that? Something. It has about close to 50,000 stitches done, so 22,000 to go, something like that. Seems to me that's not right, but whatever. I am making progress. I have worked on it every day, at least one thread's worth since the last time I made a video, except for the day I did the gridding, when I just did one little bit of a few random stitches that were pretty widespread that I used one thread for. This is Margaret Hutton, the piece from the Queen City Sampler Guild workshop with Nicola Parkman at the beginning of the month. I wanted to keep my memory alive of some of the specialty stitches, so I carried this row of double running back stitch, double back stitch, alternating back stitch, I think. I carried that farther. I carried the seed stitch farther. I did another, I think I have done a couple more four-sided stitch. I don't remember, but I also carried the border a bit, and I put some of the colors in that go in those flowers in that beautiful little border. So I will keep working a bit on that every week, I'm sure. It's not a huge sampler. The size is 160 by 234. So it's not huge. It's very reasonable to think I would be able to finish it in a reasonable amount of time. Now, I'm not thinking I'm going to finish it this year, but I will definitely keep working on it. Jane Thompson, 1838, by the Scarlet House. This one is so beautiful. So I have some time ago, I mean, I haven't shown this very often, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a tour. I finished the border skeleton, the vine part of the border, some time ago, and I fairly recently finished the top part of that cartouche. And every time I pick it up, or every few times I pick it up, I will do at least some of the flowers in that outer border, which I think are so pretty. This time I did the vine part of the inner border and the base of each of the flowers, and I put in 2 of the flowers. There's also a leaf detail that goes in there. And so what happens next in this is we get down to the verse, which is over 2. The whole thing is cross stitch over 2. And there's this heart and the Jesus permit thy gracious name to stand, which is a wonderful verse. So I'll get going on that probably. Lettering doesn't really take very long, I find, especially if you know what the verse says and you become familiar with the way the letters are formed. So it's interesting that this is an adaptation. It says it in the, I'm not just claiming that, it is an adaptation. And it makes me wonder what the original was, what it actually looked like. Because 2 things are of interest to me in this. One is that there's no alphabet section, and the other is that the verse is over 2. And it makes me wonder whether the original has some alphabets and the verse over 1, since it was so typical of this era. All the other samplers I've seen from this era have, or not all the other ones, but so many do have those things. But anyway, I think it's beautiful. That house is really something. There's a lot of stitching in that. But I'll get there, so I'll show it again. I have made at least one mistake in the flowers around that outside border. And at one point I thought I would take it out. And at this point, I can't even remember where it is. I would have to look at the pattern in order to figure it out. So this is 36 count sleeping bear linen, and it's NPI silks. And I enjoy it. In fact, I thought to myself, I wonder if I should just make this a focus for the next several weeks and just really work on that a lot. Maybe I will. But on the other hand, I could do this for a focus. Sampler 193 by 2x2 stitch art. I did another 800 or 900 stitches on this. I'm getting there. I think this is now past the 2/3 mark. And I just continue working on it. I worked down in the corner by my elbow a little bit. I finished the vertical border there and carried a little bit of the corner motif around, and then but mostly I worked over here on this side where I've been working, going down. It's 68% done, I think. This is 16 count white Aida with DMC 777. It's a really nice red, nice contrast. I mean, this is going to be, I think I'm going to make, as I've said before, that's a pillow cover, I think. So, you know, I finished 4 pieces in the past 5 weeks or so. I finished Lost from the By Hands Across the Sea from the Words of Wisdom box. I finished Jane Boyer, 1834, for the event that Leslie and I are holding in October. So Leslie now has that sampler. I finished, Winter Rose Manor, and I finished A. Robson. So 4 things gone, and I found myself this week thinking, well, I could work on that. I don't really feel like it. I could work on that and don't think I want to get it out. So I decided to start to sort of take stock of new starts that I want to do. And I did not start everything, but I did start Nancy Cook, 1825, I think is the date on this. So here's the reason that I started this is the special project, sort of the warm-up project for the Mrs. Parkman's Academy of Needlework 2025 in England that Leslie and I are going to, the 3rd year of the Great British Sampler Weekend. And this is only available to people who are signed up for that. And the point of this one, it's actually from the US, it's from New York State. But the point of this one is to learn to do this felled seam that joins these 2 pieces of linen. But, you know, it's kind of a quirky sampler, actually. I don't know if you can see that she repeats the letters a lot. So I'll just show you my start, and then I'll discuss the sampler a little more. So pardon that dangling needle minder, but so I finished, that's all the way across the width of it, and I've almost done the border underneath it. So the border, so first of all, she is not a careful stitcher at all, not at all. There are a lot of oddities in that sampler, but in this part of it, the thing that's a lack of care is that she actually was going along fine on this border, and then she made 1 stitch only half of a width, going over 1 thread horizontally, but 2 threads vertically, so it made it into a little bit of an elongated cross stitch, which threw the border off. So it's off by a stitch the rest of the way. It's such a simple little border, but you know, her light might not have been good, or her linen might not have been even, or whatever. But I'm stitching it the way she did because that's how it's been charted. The other thing is that she repeats the letters. So we have A, B, C, and then this right there, which normally I think of as an N as part of this type of an alphabet. But because of where it is there, I wonder if it's supposed to be a D, and then there are 2 different Ds. Then we go along with only 1 of each letter until we get to M. Those are definitely 2 M's there. And if you go farther in the alphabet, that same thing is true. So whereas some samplers have a complete alphabet of 1 style, and then the next alphabet is a different style, and then maybe a 3rd alphabet, this one, she did them all at once. I just think that's interesting. So this is charted as a reproduction with DMC 310, 823, and 931, these 3 colors. So it's hard to tell, but of course DMC 310 is black, 823 is a dark navy, and so that will be interesting. And I am doing this on 2 different colors of linen from Fox and Rabbit. This that I'm starting on is Paperbark. It's a nice, this is a solid, non-modeled neutral. And then the other one I'm going to use when I get down to that seam area is, this is Flannel Flower, which is slightly modeled. Really pretty. for mottled linen, this is about the degree I like. And I think these two go well together. It's almost as if the modeling, it's almost as if they're on the same base color. I'm not sure. It's impossible to show these so that you can see them, especially because I'm being completely inept and who knows what I just dropped. Oh well. I have no idea what that was. Oh, it's the needle minder. I'll be able to get that in a minute. Yeah. So that's what I'm doing that on. It will not take me too long, I don't think, but I'm not rushing. The felled seam is the main lesson here, and then she just hemmed it. That is, Nancy Cook just hemmed it. I plan to hem stitch it, you know, do a pulled thread and do a little open hem stitch. That's my thought. So those are the things I worked on. This coming weekend is the third weekend of the month, and I invite you to join me and Leslie and Teresa for hashtag Nativity Sal, i.e. Christmas themed stitching, the third weekend of every month. Leslie and I started this last year, and I am really enjoying doing it because it lets me have a piece that's going that isn't in the normal rotation. So when the weekend comes up, it's really exciting to be able to work on it and see progress and spend some concentrated time on a weekend. And I've shown you, if you want to look back to the video, it would have been in April, where I showed my progress on Bethlehem, is the one I'm doing. So I'll be working on that, although I think I have to chart more of it before I can make much progress because I can't really use the pattern. I just can't keep it in, it's fine. It's a fine pattern, I just can't do it. So I've been charting it and then using Pattern Keeper to keep track of it. But I'm also gonna have a new start, I think, this coming week because I have some other things planned and I haven't completely decided what it's gonna be yet, which of my options, but it will be something. I've picked out fabric for at least 2 pieces. So something, I'll start soon this week. But I wanted to show you this. This is Hannah Green, 1826, yeah. This is Hands Across the Seas, Queen of the May. Now, this was released at the Queen City Sampler Guild, being the first weekend of May and being the Queen City, the Queen of the May, that linkage. And this is what Nicola Parkman calls a Bobby Dazzler of a sampler. It is very, very large also. It is 322 by 279. And a lot of that is this grass down here with many animals. There's a shepherd. And then there's a lot of flower things. This border is gorgeous. And the verse is another example, another instance of Jesus, permit thy gracious name to stand. Most of it is cross-stitch over 2. Some of it is the verse, and a few other things are cross-stitch over 1. And anyway, so I bought it because, well, it will be the third piece that I have, which has the Jesus, permit thy gracious name to stand verse on it, which I really like. And Leslie and I both got it, and I think we're planning to start it as a start along, if not stitch along, the first of the year. So it is going to be in my plans. Let's see, what does the model was done on just the ticket. I think I'm going to do it on Russian tea cake because I have a large piece of that. So that is 37 count. So the 36 count linen design is almost 18 by 15 and a half. So it's pretty large sampler. The start along or stitch along will not be a 1-year project. It'll be more than a year. I feel quite sure. And of course, when you order something from Hands Across the Sea, she sends a card, and this has a little chart on the back, which is this flower arrangement, the shepherdess, which is down here, one of the little dogs, and a bird, and a border that is like the cartouche border that's up there. So that's Elizabeth Furness, 1836. Very nice sampler. This sampler also has Jesus Permit Thy Gracious Name to Stand. I'm not attracted to this sampler to stitch it as a sampler, but boy, look at that house. So we'll see. I mean, we won't see. We'll see if I do the little chart that's on the back of the card. That's a possibility. It would be a fun little small thing. What did I find out? I discovered it's about 83 by 83 or something. I can't show it to you because it's just a chart. But when you order something straight from, oh, and I forgot to show you. So when we were there, many people picked up their, that is, this was available as a, I'm folding this down here because the chart is coming. I mean, the chart is on the opposite page. But I had said to Nicola that my only disappointment is, Emily, start this story again. Be sensible. Nicola had a box of the charts there as part of the release for a special opportunity for people attending that workshop to get the chart on the day it was released, because otherwise you'd have to buy it, order it, or go to your local needlework shop, which of course, as I say every other video, I don't have one. But she only brought one box, and that left many people who wanted to buy it unable to buy it. But what she said is, if you buy it, if you pay today, I will ship it to you when I get home, and I will waive the shipping charge, so you'll get it in the mail for the same price you would have paid. And so, of course, that was me. And I went to her and said, the thing that I am sorry about is that I can't get you to autograph it, because that would have been fun for me to have this chart, this particular chart, autographed by you. And she said, well, just leave a note on your address, where you left your address on the list, and I'll autograph it. And so she did. I thought she might not remember, but she did. It says, Dear Emily, with much love, Nicola, XXX, I think. And, you know, she is a very warm person in person. If you have a chance to go to her workshop sometime, you'll find that she's, I think she really loves people. I think she must thrive on being with people. And yeah. So, variety show. This is a weird one. So it's going to be, I'm going to give you a recipe. I'm going to talk about a food, actually. I'm not going to give you the recipe because I don't have it memorized, but I'll put it in the description field. And that recipe is for deviled eggs. Now, we're getting on toward summertime, and deviled eggs are a food that shows up at picnics, and probably everybody has, well, some people don't like deviled eggs. But if you like them, you have a recipe. That is the one you use, or you have a method. And for the longest time, I had a method. I would boil the eggs, I would take the egg yolks out, I would mash them up with a fork, and then I would put in what seemed right, you know, a little mayonnaise, a little vinegar, salt and pepper, a little mustard, Dijon mustard or yellow mustard, either one, depending on my mood. And then I would put that back into the eggshells, usually Used to be with just a knife. You know, I would just scrape it out of the bowl and put it in there with a knife, not make it pretty. And then maybe sprinkle it with paprika as a little garnish. So there are a few tips I have about deviled eggs. One is, I now have a recipe, which I'll put below, which is from my friend Judy, which interestingly, Judy doesn't like deviled eggs. So whenever she used to make them, but she was always the one to make them for her mother. And whenever she used to make them, she had her father taste them to see if they were right, because she didn't like them. She didn't even want to taste it. So, but this is her recipe. I think it's very good. And now I always measure things and use her recipe. When I started piping it into the eggshells, I found that it really made a difference. I thought it looked nice, and it didn't taste different, but it looked really nice. Now, here's the thing about deviled eggs, about hard-boiled eggs. Once you take the shell off, there's a lot of moisture in the egg white. And if you're making a lot of deviled eggs, you might slice a lot of eggs in half and take the yolks out. And then you have the halves sitting around with the little hollowed part where the yolk was. And when you come back to filling them, you'll see that little puddles of water are in each one. Egg whites do this. It's quite interesting to me that they do, that the lattice of protein that coagulates when they're cooked into that nice firm white stuff doesn't hold water. The water gets right through it, apparently. So, even though this is not as beautiful as a plate with just deviled eggs on it, I put a folded paper towel down on the base of my platter. And then I put my egg white halves on it, and then I pipe them, and then I sprinkle paprika with care. And then I wrap it to take it to somewhere. I will set the platter on top of a big long sheet of plastic wrap, and I'll put a toothpick in most of the eggs, if not all of them, and fold it over like this, so that when it comes time to serve the eggs, you can open the paper like this, the plastic wrap like this, and the plastic wrap will not have crushed the eggs. The toothpicks keep it up. And the paper towel underneath is soaking wet. It really will be if you leave it for any amount of time, because so much water comes out of the egg whites. So that is what I do. And then, you know, if you have to put a second direction because of the shape of your tray or whatever, you can do that. But those are my tips for deviled eggs, and the recipe is down below. So the reason deviled eggs are on my mind, I'm not going to open this, but you can see these beautiful eggs. Now, these are not from my son and daughter-in-law, although they do have chickens. These are from a friend of mine who has 33 chickens, I think she said, all hens. She gets about 30 eggs a day. And I was remarking at one point, wow, that's a lot of eggs. How do you and your husband, living alone, deal with so many eggs? She said, I give them away to as much as I can. And she's also going to be trying to sell them too, but she brought me some yesterday. So my husband and I have been thinking about what in the world, because she brought me these eggs. And she brought me another dozen, equally beautiful. And I already had about 8 eggs left over from, not left over, but, you know, remaining in a carton from the last time we bought them at the grocery store. So we have a lot of eggs. And Cindy, she brought a half a dozen for you. Beautiful, beautiful little eggs, which I have in my fridge. So, what do you think? Deviled eggs, love them. I love egg salad sandwiches. I love fried egg sandwiches. So those are some options. Actually, I like to eat a boiled egg, just put just salt and pepper. I like to eat scrambled eggs. I like to eat, I guess those are the ways. Fried eggs, over easy. It's very nice on toast. But what do you think? I think I might make a pound cake this weekend, although we're having people over and everybody I'm having over makes a good pound cake, pretty sure. So I don't know, that seems like I'm competing with the queen of pound cakes. There was several queens of pound cakes. But I might make one because my recipe for pound cake uses 8 eggs, so that will help. I don't know, what else should I make that uses a lot of eggs? Quiche, my husband thought he might make a quiche. He wants to make it without a crust. I really like a crust on a quiche. I don't know. I guess we'll see. If you have suggestions, your favorite ways to eat eggs, I would love to hear it in the comments. Because however beautiful they are, I'm not going to keep them in the shell because they have to be eaten. This one is green. Can you see that? It's green. So we have one white one, some light brown ones, some really beautiful dark brown ones, and this greenish one. And the other box that I have, the other dozen, is a similar mixture. And I don't know that Cindy's box has a green one, but the green one is the smallest. And Shireen said it was laid by the largest hen, so what do you think of that? So anyway, deviled egg recipe down below. Yeah. I thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for comments that you all leave. I really enjoy that and appreciate it. You know, the video, I think of it as I'm talking to you friends about my cross stitch, even though I can't see you. Many of you I have never met. Most of you I have never met, to be honest. But the interaction in the comments, and I also have my email address now under the video if you prefer to communicate that way. And you can reach me by direct messaging on Instagram. And if you happen to be on Discord for any purpose, I think you can reach me even if we're not part of the same group on Discord, though I'm not sure about that. That might be true. But it might not be true. You might have to join the Sudoku group. Oh yes, some of you wished me well on my Sudoku last weekend, and I did pretty well for me. I completed 5 puzzles and I had time left. I started another puzzle that I just couldn't finish in time. So that was very fun. My son did very well also. And some other people I follow did very well. Tan Tan Dai, who's the Chinese woman who is the current world champion. She did very well, as she does. She's still in the lead by about 500 something points, I think, which, given that each round has 600 points in the puzzle section, or about 600 points, 600 to 700 points in the puzzle section, and then bonuses available for finishing it faster than the overall time. 600 points, 550 points is a lot of points. That's almost a complete round's worth of points. So she would have to falter in a major way to not finish first in the Grand Prix. There is a World Championship at the Grand Prix level that takes place at the World Championships, which this year are going to be in China, and I am not sure that people that I know are going. I don't know of anybody going. I mean, I know the person I do tend to watch and cheer for in the Sudoku is Mark Goodliff, who is on Cracking the Cryptic, and I don't know if he's going. I mean, China, that's a very long way. That's completely around the world from England. It's a long way for a lot of the world. So, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. Too much nattering. I will say goodbye. Thank you for joining me. And I hope you have a great week of stitching or whatever you're doing, a fun weekend planned, perhaps. Yes, last weekend was Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day in arrears. Many blessings to you, friends.